So I was out on my bike this afternoon, and I got this new amazing bike. It's electric bike, and and it gives me a little bit of pedal assist. So what that means is I never really have to work very hard. It's always a workout. It always feels really, really good. But previously, what would take me, the amount of pedaling that would take me to go like 10, maybe 12 miles an hour now takes me like 15, 16, sometimes 19 or 20. And when I'm going up those really steep hills, like I feel it in my legs. Like I get a little huffy puffy. But it's very rare for me to get like totally winded. And if I don't want to, I just hit that little throttle button and zoom, I go up the hill. And it's making my biking experience really, really fun. But I was thinking about it today, and a little program was running in my sweet head around this idea that, hey, Victoria, maybe, you used to have a road bike without any assist. And, maybe this is like the lazy way to do it. Like maybe you should be working a little harder. Maybe you're going to go soft, right? By enjoying yourself. And so that voice was getting really loud. And the thing is, friends, is that I'm loving this bike. And though I loved biking around Connecticut before the e-bike thing was such a big deal, I did not like biking home up the hill. Like I just didn't. It was excruciating and my body would hurt afterwards. And yeah, I could do it. And yeah, I got in shape, but I dreaded it every time. And sometimes I didn't even want to go out on a ride because I was like, oh man, I don't feel like doing hills today. But with this bike, I'm in control, right? I can choose how much assist I get. And on those steepest hills, if I'm really not feeling it, I can just give myself a little bit of an extra push. So it's really, really magical. So it got me thinking about this idea. Why am I so invested in it having to be hard? Like, why am I so invested in that? I can go out. I know I'm getting a workout. I feel it in my legs in the most enjoyable way. I'm outside. I can go wherever I want. I can control. If I'm really tired, I can give myself a little bit more assist. If I'm not very tired, I can give myself very little assist. I am having a blast with that bike. So why is a little voice in me telling me that it should be more unenjoyable? So that's what I want to talk about today. And I want to talk about this program that many of us have running, this idea that if it's not really hard, it's not valuable, right? And that it kind of has to be hard, no pain, no gain. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So anyway, so I got this bike and that's what kind of gave me the idea. But I was also thinking today, I was on a podcast and the interviewer was made a comment about, how the spiritual path can sometimes be more difficult. And all of my little hackles went up. And I'm like, no, 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 don't put that out there, right? Why should this be more hard? The spiritual path can often be more comfortable. And so again, watch what you think, my friends, because that's what you'll experience, right? But many of us have this investment in effort, this investment in difficulty, and this idea that if it's hard, right, we're going to get kudos for accomplishing it or doing it. And sometimes because of that, we make things harder on ourselves than they need to be. And ultimately, you want your life to be as easy as possible. You want to enjoy it. If there is a bike that can make riding up steep hills a breeze, right? And make it at just the right level that your body desires, what the heck could be wrong with that? Right. Now, of course, if you get a special rush out of taking your bike up those big hills, if that is your happy place, if you invite that challenge into your life because it is fun for you and for your body to accomplish that, you keep doing that, because again, we can invite any challenges into our life that bring us joy. If it's part of your fun, go for it. But oftentimes, we invite in, I think, inadvertently things that are really, really hard for us, or we try to make it look like life is really hard for us because we've sometimes learned that if we're having too much fun, we're not doing a good job, right? And we're not going to get anywhere. And my friends, nothing could be further from the truth. So I was thinking about this and I was thinking about there's some really great research, right, on how people respond to challenge. And I think there's kind of different phases that people can go through, right? And different, and so it really kind of depends. Like there's, and so one phase that people can go through is what's called having a fixed mindset. People with a fixed mindset believe that success and accomplishment kind of has to do with innate ability, right? And so you either got it or you don't. So these people, when they experience a challenge, they might shut down because they're like, oh my God, this means I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not good enough, right? And so they respond to challenges, right, by not from a sense of empowerment, like, ooh, I can do this, right? I just have to work harder or find those secret hack or find those inner resources, right? They don't understand that challenge is something that we can grow to meet. They kind of just give up. Right. And we can talk about that too. The guides say from an external world perspective, right? Where people that think that like when things aren't going my way, it means life is against me, right? God doesn't love me. Things never go my way. And again, it puts us in this kind of helpless position where we just kind of say, like, well, I guess that's not going to work. And that's a very sad place to be, my friends, because you actually have complete and total power when you learn to discover how to flow with it over much of your life experience. And you can always, always, always have the free will to choose how you respond to any situation, right? And we always want to respond in the way that's most empowering and makes us feel good and the best that we can feel, because the better we feel, the more we are aligned with our highest and truest selves, and the more we can bring good feeling things into our lives. Because what is the biggest factor that encourages you to have the life of your dreams is how you feel. And feeling good matters. And you're actually here to feel good, which would also suggest that inviting unnecessary challenges that might make you feel bad is not necessarily the way to go. Right. But challenge does arrive. It happens in our life. It's part of the human experience. Up until now, everything's not always easy peasy. Some things trigger us, or they make us dig deep into our inner resources, or we might even feel overwhelmed by things in life. And this is okay too. It's part of the human process up until now. But how you respond to it when it happens really, really matters, right? And so we know that people that have this other kind of mindset called a growth mindset, these people look at challenges in life as opportunities for growth. Right? They say, okay, well, maybe I don't have this now, but I can figure out how to do it. I can take this, I can make it a puzzle, I can make it a challenge, and I can dig deep within myself and figure out what I need to do to be successful, right? When there's a will, there's a way. And that can be a really empowering stance, right? That can feel really good. And we know people that have that growth mindset tend to be better adjusted. They tend to be more successful. They tend to have, more deeper sense of well-being because they have that sense of personal agency, that belief that I can rise to these challenges. And I think even more importantly, these challenges are here for a purpose. They're going to make me stronger. They're going to make me better, right? There's a method to this madness. There's something good in this for me, right? And I really invite you, when life, gets lifey and challenges arise, where we can find the hidden meaning or value in them. That's a really powerful thing. And I really invite you to do that as much as possible, wherever you can find them. And where you can't find them because you feel overwhelmed, I say always have faith and take some time to love and soothe yourself, because, life can be uncomfortable sometimes, and that's okay. Right. And I think what can sometimes happen in our society, I think really drives this home right now, is we can start to identify as the one who is valuable because they rise to the challenge. It becomes part of our identity. I am a challenge seeker and a challenge fixer. And it has to be hard, because what makes me valuable is that I work really hard and I deal with all these challenges. And you see, as I said that, my energy tanked, right? It didn't feel so like when it comes, I got it, but it may or may not come. It became a way of making challenge a way of life and identifying with it and feeling like my identity is as somebody who, gets the really, really, heavy bike and tries to like muscle it up the hill because I'm going to be a better person than the lady that rides the e-bike. Right. And some of you might be thinking that, and that is totally fine. But I know many of you are getting the point. Right. And so we tend to identify with challenge, and we tend to think our value is in it being hard. And that could not be further from the truth. The guides say challenge will arise in our lives and everything will not be easy and simple because we live in a universe of mixed vibrations and contrast. And so we learn and grow sometimes by not everything being peachy keen. We discover what we like and what feels good sometimes by, coming into what does not. But the trick is what you do when the challenge arises and what you tell yourself, and whether it's empowering and meaningful to you or whether it's disempowering. Okay. That's what matters. And if you make that next error of thinking, because I felt so good about myself for all these challenges, and I show up as and this was my story a little bit, right? The kid with the learning disabilities, right? Who overcame them to get a PhD from Princeton, right? And again, I did, and I'm so proud of all those things. But that doesn't mean life has to be hard, right? It's not, we don't get kudos for the effort or for the trying or for the working. We get kudos for all the beautiful things that we can manifest. And none of those manifestations came from working and suffering for the sake of suffering, right? They came from meeting our suffering with love and joy and acceptance of understanding, and then tuning in to our intuition, right? Digging into our inner resources and figuring out, all right, how am I going to make this thing work to my advantage? And when we do, it does, we move forward, and then we enjoy, all the blessings of that without looking for more trouble, And so I do think that, many of us, that for me, the reason why this is sometimes hard is because, like many, I've come to identify with the struggle and overcoming the struggle and doing that, all that effort being what got me where I am. Right. And maybe it did. Right. And maybe it did. And maybe that was part of your journey, the guides actually say up until now. The question is, are you done with that? Are you ready for things to be easier? Right. Now that you have those resources, now that you know that you have those strengths, is it okay to let life be a joy? So I want you to tune into that question for a moment and ask yourself, is it okay with me if things are easier? Is this something that I can invite into my space? Is this something that I desire? And again, friends, it doesn't mean that sometimes you're not going to run into little bugaboos or sometimes even big bugaboos. It's more of a cooperation with the universe to say, I get this and I trust this, and I'm ready for as much ease and joy and flow and alignment that wants to come into my space. Right? I'm ready to let go of all those old ways of doing and thinking that make it harder than it needs to be. And when it feels a little bit hard, that's okay. I know what to do. Right? But I'm ready to try a new way of doing things. And that's what it's been like for me. And, if you had talked to me about 5 or 6 years ago, I was really at the brink of breaking through and making this paradigm shift. And nowadays it just shows up on these little moments when I'm thinking I should be miserable on that old bike that I rode in Connecticut, which, was a joy, but not because I had to motor up those hills. That was really not fun. It was a joy because I got to go out there. I got to be with my hair blowing in the breeze. I had that freedom of being on my bike. I like my bike so much more than my car because, it's just I'm outside and I'm just, I don't know. I love being on my bike. And also I do love moving my body. I love moving my body, right? So unlike a motorcycle, which might be fun for a lot of you, I really love that feeling of being outside and moving my body and exercising and feeling just the right amount of, burning in my quadriceps, right? Without overtaxing my system, right? That to me is fun. And so I was thinking about the fact, why is my sweet monkey mind telling me, right, that I should make something harder on myself when the thing that I'm doing right now is bringing me pure and complete joy? All right. So I'm going to leave you with that one. And I'm going to leave you to discover, where in your life might you be inviting in hardship or trouble when it's not needed or desired? And again, a lot of us have this conditioning that tells us, right, you have to work hard to get where you're going. It has to be hard in order to be valuable. Like your contribution to the world is working through and overcoming your struggle and rising to the challenge. And again, when the challenges arise, please, I invite you to have that growth mindset and know that life is always happening for you and with you. And you got this. You got this. And even when you don't got this right away, you'll get there. You will, I promise, 1,000%. And then bring your attention to all those factors and areas of your life where the flow is already happening for you. It's already flowing. It's coming easy. And there's always things in our lives that come easily to us. And then take some time to enjoy and celebrate those. One is not better than the other, right? But the places that we find ease and flow when we can get them are a heck of a lot more enjoyable and should be celebrated. All right. So that's all I got for today. I can't wait to hear what you guys all think about this one. I'm so glad I sat down in front of the microphone to share. And I think this is a topic we'll come back to again. Because again, I know it's one that my mind sometimes gets wrapped around backwards. And so I'm sure that's one for many of you. So thank you again all for tuning in. And one last thing is coming before I go, if it's a welcome challenge, if it's something that you love to do, right? If you are somebody that really gets, a big joy bomb for climbing that really hard hill, or my son, likes to like bike across Europe or bike across the Rocky Mountains or run a marathon or do a triathlon, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And obviously, if part of that experience involved overcoming some kind of discomfort and that, floats your boat because at the end you're like, look what I did, that's totally fine. But what the guides say is you may not want to make that your mantra for life. Like invite the challenges in that excite you. That's what brought you into this physical body. What brought you into this physical body was an excitement about exploring and trying new things and a bravery and a belief that you had everything in you to do it and you wanted to give it a try, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just this idea that life has to be hard and that if we're not running a marathon, right, we're not doing something right. And that's simply not true. Invite in the challenges that you love, that light you up, that excite you, and have fun. And allow that some challenges will arise that don't feel super welcome or invited. And you have all the resources within you to deal with those too, right? But also recognize that there are many, many times that, riding your e-bike to the beach and then, dipping your little toes in the water and riding your e-bike home is exactly where you want to be. All right, now I'm done. Love you all. Like, subscribe, do the stuff, keep listening, share with your friends, and have a magical day. Namaste.